Okay, so we've removed the skin on this half for the most part. Usually we keep the skin on. Your family may choose to take off the skin. Physicians say it is healthier to remove the skin because the skin contains lots of fat content to it and scrape away the fat. We'll see here, there is fat content here. Personally, you know what, I'm fat, I know I'm fat, I like the fat, and I like the skin. So I typically leave it on. But for viewing purposes, on taking the turkey, taking the meat off the turkey, especially the back section, we're going to remove the skin on this half. I'm not removing it off the other half, I like the skin. So, you can do this with your bare hands, you can use a paring knife, do whatever. Oddly enough, if you use a simple spoon, you can simply reach in here. You want to start with top layer. The turkey, like any other animal, like any person, is muscle upon muscle in layers. Start with the top layer, take and depress in with the edge until you have found a stopping point. So you found that stopping point, dip in, and slowly work it off. It will eventually just tease loose. You'll be doing this all the way through the entire turkey. This section right here, the tail section, is deep, where you've actually found bone. If you hear scraping, that means that you are where you need to be. If while you're doing this, you stop during that, you can't turn spoon, that's because you've embedded yourself inside the turkey, and you have to pull that out. Reach on in there, continue to pull. As I've said before, it is layers upon layers of turkey on top of each other. We won't go through the entire turkey because it is going to be a lot of work, quite a bit of work. There I am pulling the leg away. On the legs and the wings, if you choose to peel it, it is peeled the exact same way. It is pulled apart the exact same way. It is layers upon layers on top of itself. This should actually make this a lot easier if you have trouble taking the meat off the turkey. We will be removing the skin on the front half as well for visual purposes. Over here we have the spine. You want to find a soft spot around there and dig in, as I said before. Metal upon bone scraping. If you dig in too deep and you find that you're inside the carcass, just remove the meat as best you can by getting underneath it and pulling it out. As you'll find here, we have found a joint to the drumstick, to the leg. Dig in deep, pull it out. Using the spoon is nice because if you use the knife in there, you're going to have a constant paranoia of cutting your finger off in the bird, which is very, very unpopular during the holidays. Nobody wants to see somebody's newer addition to the family running around with a finger in their mouth, especially if it's not theirs. Get into these sections, go ahead and pull them away. Since we're here at this point where we have found this part of the socket and we have the drumstick, we will grab the edge of the drumstick, which most of the meat has fallen off of this already. To remove this, it is simply torsion. You're going to come back against the joint and pull out. That is one of the upsides to cooking this particular animal, chest down instead of on its back. Most of these joints have already boiled loose. Most of the flesh has already fallen off the bone. There is no fight because it's fallen apart already. you really want the rest of it, go ahead and spoon that out, like so. We'll come over here, and you'll see right here, I'm going to stop digging about here, because this is the breast section. This will be an additional video on removing the breast and carving it. Most people will simply carve right off of the bird. What I'm going to show you how to do is remove the breast section from here and over here, allow it to fall out, and pull the carcass off. Pretty cool if you're a sick person like that, and pretty simple if you struggle with carving a bird. Here we have part of the scapula right here, which is also just simply fallen off. I was hoping to demonstrate on that, but it just fell off. Once again, showing on the wing, you simply pull in. We're losing a little bit off of there already, aren't we? We'll pull those off because I want to keep the meat off of this. Pull in and away. So I'll put a little bit more pressure on that, but I am losing pieces of the bird as we are going. Now, what didn't happen on the drumstick that did happen here on the bird is what I wanted to get into. You have tendons and other cartilage that is connected to each other. It's very hard to see. But if I move this away and turn this ever so slightly, there is a gummy little piece right here. This is what you are fighting against so hard all the time when you go to pull this thing off. It is what keeps our joints and the animal's joints in its socket right here. Simply break it. We'll tease off these last few things. About this point, you should get the gist of it. I'm scraping out white meat at this point because white meat runs underneath of the shoulders of the wings in the bird. We can almost see the skeleton. But see here what I'm talking about? Broken bones. In the first video, they hurt. There's part of a rib. After doing this so many times, you learn how to pick that carcass so clean, there is nothing left. There is a little bit of meat down here towards the tail section. You have to kind of slide in, go down with it. There's not always enough here to really bother with. But on the other hand, there is enough there to make a sandwich out of. Scraping, still getting nothing but bone, nothing but bone. Now if you see here, this bone that I'm scraping on, and there's meat under it. If you want to try and retrieve that meat, you certainly can. You betcha. Reach in here and pull that up. This is part of the hip of the turkey. Now, before I pull that away too much, bear in mind this was chest down. There was a lot of broth. There was a lot of seasoning. Most of the seasoning was greenery. And here you do have a little bit of meat that rests on the inside and underneath of what was the hip of the bird. One big chunk of bone here. Found part of a hip socket here. Hip goes into here and it sockets in here. That will be how to scrape off the back of the turkey.